Iowa for the post-conviction relief hearing for defendant Todd Mullis. Remember him? The Iowa hog farmer convicted of his wife Amy's murder in the corn rake murder trial. Well, Mr. Mullis is now petitioning for a brand new trial. And so we're watching this hearing this week to see if he gets it. Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Kraft has the background of this case.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Todd Michael Mullis, guilty of the crime of murder in the first degree.
Iowa hog farmer Todd Mullis was convicted of the murder of his wife Amy, who was found badly injured by the couple's 13-year-old son.
What did you do?
I yelled for my dad.
Did you see anything that was protruding or sticking out of your mom's body?
Yes.
What did you see?
Corn rake.
Prosecutors said Amy had been having affairs, and Todd was worried about losing the farm he had worked so hard to build if there was a divorce.
When she very first told me the very first day that she was having an affair, I was so angry at her because I told her, you know, Amy, you're putting yourself in a really dangerous situation, and I said at that time, he is going to kill you.
And why did you say that?
Because Todd is just the person you don't mess with.
The medical examiner testified Amy was struck with the corn rake more than once.
What do those different directions indicate to you?
To me, they indicate that she would have to be impaled with the rake at least twice.
The prosecutor also focused on whispers uttered by Todd as he performed CPR on Amy while on the phone with the 911 operator.
Right there, do you say, "Go to hell, cheating whore"?
No.
So you don't hear that?
No.
Now, Todd is trying to get a new trial, citing ineffective assistance of trial counsel. One of many issues he cites, the fact that his trial team did not object or move for a mistrial when the prosecutor claimed Todd said cheating whore on that 911 call when Todd testified he did not say that. And failing to hire experts to dispute the medical examiner's opinion that Amy's death was a homicide. Todd insists it was an accident.
Kelly Kraft reporting there for us. The hearing's going to start back up at 10 a.m. Eastern time. While we wait, we have some clips for you. Let's take a look.
I want to talk now about November 10th, 2018. Do you remember what you were doing that day?
That was the day of the accident. I was, my son and me were about, I'm going to say, a half mile from my nephew's place. And we were loading scrap iron off a farm, and we seen ambulance, or not ambulance, we seen flashing lights to the east on 38, and we're looking, and it's like, well, wonder what's going on. And then a town officer, town cop, whatever, he flew by on the highway, which is way out of city limits, which we thought was pretty odd. So we grabbed the binoculars and looked, and we looked to the east where my nephew's place is. He's just building a house there, and we seen like, well, it looked like that's where the activity was. So we hopped in the truck and headed down. We figured, excuse me, there was a skid loader accident or something. They were building a house. You move a lot of dirt, debris, lumber, everything with loaders, whatnot. And you want the whole story?
Well, I'll ask you another question before there's an objection. What was the name of your son that you were with that day?
Michael.
Michael. And what is the name of your nephew who lived on 38?
Brian.
Brian. And so you and Michael both went down the road to where the squad cars or the deputy lights were?
Yes.
Okay. You said that you thought it was an accident. You knew Brian was building a house, and you talked about a skid loader. For clarity of the record, can you tell us a little bit about what is a skid loader?
It's probably the most awesome machine ever built. You can do anything with it. You move dirt, you can mow, mowers, backhoe attachments. There's nothing you can't do with a skid loader.
Can I call it a smaller tractor?
No, it's just not. I've never heard them called anything else but a skid loader.
Is it a heavy machine?
Yes. 12,000 pounds probably.
Okay. Is it something that you can take on the road?
Your Honor, I'm going to object. This is fascinating, but it's not relevant.
I guess Ms. Nichols-Cook, as far as the relevancy, is there some reason you think it's relevant?
I guess I'm trying to lay the foundation for why he expected there to be a skid loader accident and why he went there so quickly. So I could just ask him why he was worried about a skid loader accident?
Sure.
Okay. Mr. Krogmann, when you thought there would have been a skid loader accident at your nephew's house, was that upsetting or alarming to you?
I don't really think it was either. It was just a matter we had to get there and fix the situation.
Were you afraid somebody was hurt?
Right. They wouldn't have called.
Could a skid loader accident seriously injure somebody?
Very much so.
Have you seen other skid loader accidents?
I've seen it with the same type attachment on tractors where same scenario, they're building a new house. The wife was down in the trench and the tractor didn't stop and it pretty much cut her in half.
Okay.
And I'm sure a skid loader do the same thing. I mean, you don't know. There's a lot of stuff goes through your head when it's at your nephew's place.
Yes, I know.
Really quick, too.
Yeah. Have you yourself been involved in any accidents while farming or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any one of those guys sitting back there been in an accident? Oops.
Are accidents common?
Yes.
On a farm?
Yes. It's a dangerous job. I mean, we don't have to play by OSHA or any of that ruling, and we got so much time to get this done, and we just do it. And sometimes you lose a finger.
And do some people sometimes die in a farming accident?
Yes.
So when you got to Brian's property, what did you see?
I seen what looked like a car accident.
Did you recognize anybody?
I noticed Todd's truck.
Okay. Did you see Todd?
Yep, he was standing out so well. Yeah, yes.
Did you see deputies?
Yes.
Did you see Amy Mullis?
On the ground, yes.
Was anything happening to Amy at the time?
I don't know if they were doing the chest compressions or what. I can't say for sure.
Was EMS there yet?
I can't say for sure.
And did you speak with Todd?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And did you ask or inquire about what had happened?
Yes.
Okay. Have you been to Todd Mullis's farm before?
Absolutely.
Are you familiar with a shed between the hog barns and the house?
The red shed?
Yes.
I've been in it. I don't know, 10 years ago probably I bought a tote from him on a winter day I needed a tote. But that's the only time I've ever been in that shed.
Do you have any recollection from that time you were in the shed, how much space was in it or what was stored in it?
It was full. I was just helping him out by taking a tote.
So the totes that you identified in the photo were in those types of totes?
Yes, yes.
At some point, did you learn that Amy had been found in that shed?
Yes.
And at some point, did you learn that there had been a corn rake involved?
Yes, I did.
Did that strike you as unusual or strange?
I'm going to object as
All right, Todd Mullis' friend on the stand there. This is unaired footage from this hearing, and you're going to see more of it this hour as we get ready for him to go back to court. Will he get his wish and get a new trial? Stay with us here on Court TV Live.
911 emergency.
Can you get someone over here now?
Well, okay, what does he look like?
He's O.J. Simpson. I think you know his record.
They were broken up, and he was still madly in love with her.
He didn't think that he was a batterer. I said, hey, man, you hit her. You're a batterer.
This is a murder case. They felt it had nothing to do with the murders.
Trial and Error. Why did O.J. win? A Court TV original series. New episode Sunday night, 8 Eastern and Pacific. Only on Court TV.
Thanks for being with us on this Thursday morning. I'm Julie Grant. This is Court TV Live. We're on a verdict watch right now. Just put the clock up on your screen as deliberations have officially begun in the bedtime murder trial for defendant Jermaine Bass. This is a live look in the courtroom at the moment where you can see his lawyer standing up. He's sitting down. He has had that same expression on his face every single day of this trial. He chose not to testify, which is his right. He's got good lawyers, that's for sure. They did what they can to raise key issues for this jury as to who did the shooting and how the shooting happened. We're going to keep you posted if we hear of any questions from the jury or if they arrive at a verdict. You'll see it here first on Court TV Live. In the meantime, we have our cameras elsewhere in the country. We're in Iowa. Hog farmer and convicted killer Todd Mullis. Remember him? He's fighting for a brand new trial. He was convicted of murdering his wife, Amy, sentenced to life in prison without parole. Now, his legal team is asking that his conviction be vacated. They're saying that the first trial was fundamentally unfair. And so they're calling various witnesses throughout the week, and we're playing for you during this hour footage you haven't seen yet, footage we did not get to air for you on Wednesday. So let's go back in. Todd's friend is on the stand.
Witnesses' opinion on whether that's unusual or strange is not relevant to the issues before the court.
Overrule. You can answer.
Would you repeat it, please?
The information that you learned that Amy had been found in the shed and that a corn rake had been involved in her injury, was that a strange thing to you or a suspicious thing to you?
It was odd. I mean, anytime there's no there's no normal accident. I mean, you've all seen accidents. You can't make sense of it. It's like, why did this happen? So, I mean, I don't know how I should answer that for you.
In your experience as a lifelong, member of this community and as a farmer, did you have any thought that this wasn't an accident?
No. Object is improper opinion testimony.
I'm not asking for an expert opinion. I'm asking in his personal experience, just like if I asked a witness, how fast was that car going?
Objection's overruled. I heard an answer. Did you, Kelly? Yeah, it'll remain in the record.
Thank you, Your Honor. Did you learn at some point while you were in Brian's driveway that Todd had been on the way to the hospital with Amy?
Yes, I talked to Todd.
Have you ever had to drive a family member to the hospital that was injured?
Yes.
Why do you not wait for an ambulance to come to you?
That's not how we're wired. We fix stuff. There's no time to. Well, I think I don't know how many times I had to do it. Once I comes to recollection with my brother. He was back in the timber. It was in the spring. You couldn't even walk. It was so muddy. And he was unconscious and his leg was bent behind him, bleeding. There's no way you were going to get him out of there unless we did it.
So, in your experience, is it impractical to wait for an ambulance to get to you?
There's probably scenarios where not, but in most scenarios, we fix stuff. We don't wait for nothing.
Was Todd with you the day that your brother broke his leg?
Yes, he was.
And did he help you take your brother to the hospital?
I think he rode in the back of the truck and held him down.
So on November 10th, when you're in Brian's driveway, do you see an ambulance come?
I don't recall seeing one. I guess I really wasn't paying too much attention to that part of it, because they were working on Amy, and I couldn't tell you if there was 5 squad cars or 50 squad cars. I couldn't tell you.
Did you see Amy leave in an ambulance?
Yes.
Okay. Did you and Todd get in the ambulance?
No.
Why not?
Todd rode in with me because I think it was too full. They didn't have room for
Did you make any observations that you can remember about Todd's demeanor or his behavior?
I think he was in disbelief.
Do you know Tristan Mullis?
Yes.
Did you see him on November 10th, 2018?
Yes.
Did you drive Todd to the hospital that day?
Yes.
Did you stay at the hospital?
Yes, I did.
Do you know where you went in the hospital?
No, some small room.
Would it be like a waiting room?
It could be, yeah.
Did you stay with Todd?
Yes, I did.
Were you there when a doctor came out and informed Todd that Amy had passed?
Yes.
Did you see deputies coming in and out of that waiting room?
Yes, I did.
Were you present for any conversations the deputies had with Todd or Tristan Mullis?
I don't think so. I don't recall anything.
Did you observe anything about the medical staff's behavior? Anything that you remember about how they acted towards you and Todd?
I'm going to say cold.
Did you feel that was that a concern to you?
I rolled off me pretty easy, but you just got that feeling of
Did you recognize? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Did you recognize any of the medical staff as someone you knew?
No, I didn't know any of them.
Did you know that Amy used to work in that hospital?
Yes, I did.
Did you see other members of the Mullis family come to the hospital?
Yes, I did.
At some point, did you and your wife, Carol, then leave the hospital?
Yeah, we left together, yes.
Okay. Before Amy died, I know you said you had more limited interactions or time with Todd.
Mm-hmm.
At any point, did you and Todd ever discuss Amy having an extramarital affair?
No.
Do you have other friends in the community?
A few.
Do you sometimes hear people talk or rumors about affairs?
Oh, absolutely.
Did you also talk to Amy directly over the years, or text or call her or talk to her?
No.
When Amy and the family and Todd would come for barbecues or campouts or anything, did you ever hear Amy complain about being unhappy?
No.
Did you ever hear Todd complain about his marriage or about wanting a divorce?
No.
A couple more quick questions on November 10th. I know it was Iowa in November.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember weather-wise if it was cold?
Yes.
Do you know if there was any snow on the ground?
Yes, there was. Because we had commented loading a skid loader on that trailer, how sketchy it was. It's on tracks and it don't like a wet bed that's snow on it.
When you were doing your scrap metal job at the farm by Brian's,
mm-hmm.
were you walking around outside in the snow?
Yes.
Were you leaving prints, shoe
Sure
prints?
we were.
Do you remember a DCI agent coming to your home to talk to you?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember approximately when that was after Amy's death?
It was cold out.
If I told you the report from the agent is December 28th, 2018, would you accept that?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember having this discussion?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember the name of the agent?
No.
Have you had a chance to listen to the audio of your interview with him?
Yes, I did.
Do you know where on your property that interview is occurring?
Yes, I do.
Where at?
Right in the shop.
In the shop?
Yep.
Is the shop a large building?
Yes, very.
What do you do in there?
Objection.
Everything.
Objection is overruled. The answer will remain in the record.
We do everything in there from snowmobiles to four-wheel drive tractors.
Were any of your children or grandchildren on the farm that day with you?
Yes, they were.
Were any of them in the shop?
At one point, they weren't supposed to be, but he wasn't supposed to be there. He was supposed to come back at 5 o'clock, but he was too impatient, so I had to leave my grandkids in the house. So I had to talk to him then. And one of them slipped out. And
Do your grandkids play in the shop sometimes?
absolutely.
Do they ride their bikes or roller skate or?
All of it. Pickleball, segways, I got it all.
Do you remember the DCI agent talking to you about how Amy died?
Vaguely.
Do you remember him using a term that the medical examiner's decision that it was a homicide was gospel?
How was Amy Mullis killed? We know she was killed with a corn rake, and we know initially there was the idea that this could have been accidental. The attorneys in the first trial conceded not an accident. And so that's one of the issues Todd Mullis is raising here, that shouldn't have been conceded. You know, hindsight is 2020. The attorneys in that first trial had a strategy, and so did he. He testified. Remember that? He might have hurt himself getting up there on the stand. So a lot to unpack here with the idea that his first trial was fundamentally unfair. And you hear from the friend there, he seemed to be unbothered by Amy's affairs, but the 911 call maybe showed something different. Let's bring in someone who remembers that first case, and here this morning on the program to analyze the idea of a second one, criminal defense attorney and former district attorney Matthew Mangino. Matt, good morning. All right, Mr. Mullis, he's got all kinds of issues with his lawyers now, mad about what they did in the first trial. Just keying in on the issue of conceding that this was a homicide. You know, we know that the tines on the corn rake were very telling, right, on Amy's back, that the fall on it, like he initially said, you know, wouldn't have really been possible. So the lawyers thought it was a good idea to say it must have been somebody else, not Todd. Now he's wishing he could go back and, you know, rewrite the history books and kind of embrace the accident theory. What do you think? Is this a viable issue for him to be raising at post-conviction relief?
Well, Julie, I think, you know, when you don't have a lot to work with, you have to raise every issue you possibly can with regard to post-conviction relief. You know, this is a collateral attack on his conviction. And what he's suggesting at this point is that his attorneys were ineffective, and he lays out a number of reasons. But as you suggest, there was no, he's complaining now that there was no forensic expert that was brought in to testify or try to refute the medical examiner's testimony that there were two separate wounds with this corn rake, which would make it impossible for someone to have fallen on the same corn rake twice. So, you know, the strategy at the first trial was to concede that. So, you know, just because you have a failed strategy doesn't necessarily mean that counsel was ineffective. There has to be more to show that counsel was ineffective other than just having a bad strategy, which the defendant agreed with because he testified during his first trial consistent with that strategy.
Excellent point, Matthew. You know, dovetailing off of that, at trial, some decisions belong to the client and many decisions belong to the lawyer. Do they not? Would you kind of walk us through some of the things that lawyers can make the call on?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. So lawyers are gonna look at the evidence. They're gonna look at the witnesses, the statements, and they're gonna make decisions about how best to conduct cross-examination, what witnesses they would call to rebut statements, made by the prosecution in a particular case. You know, one of the areas in which it's completely the defendant's decision is to testify, and in this case, the decision was made that the defendant would testify, and that strategy that was used throughout the case was the same strategy that was used with regard to the defendant's testimony in this case. So, there are very stringent rules, as you know, Julie. The Supreme Court in a case named Strickland laid out how ineffective assistance of counsel claims have to be made, and that, number one, not only was there an error made during the trial, which we don't know that there was one, but that error would have changed the outcome of the trial. And that's what's the difficult hurdle in post-conviction relief cases.
Really great explainer for us, Matt. Thank you so much for that.